Hello, and welcome to another edition of You Have to Ask the Question. Supporting Eretz Yisroel, supporting Israel. We all want to do it, especially in these trying times when there are a lot of things going on in Eretz Yisrael. There are rallies that are getting together, people are talking about it, people are saying write letters to your senators, to your congressmen, shout, make your voices be heard. But how can we truly, really support Eretz Yisrael, support Israel? What can we do? On the basic surface, people say, well, important to get unity. We have to be together, and which is the underlying criteria for all efforts of Klal Yisrael is to create a greater sense of unity in order to bring us closer to the times of Mashiach, bring us closer to Hashem. But how do we do it? Well, the Torah teaches us, it says, V'yachalta v'savata uberachta. From this, our rabbis learned that there's an obligation to say Berchas Hamazon, grace after meals. We're supposed to bench. The Torah teaches us you shall eat, you shall be satisfied, and you shall then bless Hashem. Opposed to maybe other religions and other things, we say our thank yous after we eat our food, opposed to saying thank you for the food we eat before you eat the food. Now, although the Jewish people make a bracha before you eat, the bracha is there intended for permission, that we recognize who is the true owner of everything, and therefore we're asking permission to partake from this world. For example, it's like if somebody is a guest in somebody else's home, and even if the host says, please feel free to take anything, go into the refrigerator, take whatever if you're hungry, eat, if you're thirsty, drink, please, my house is open to you, as Hashem has said to us. We still feel incumbent to kind of, before we go and take something, anybody who's truly appreciative person will say, can I have some? Can I go to the refrigerator? Can I take something? Even though they know that the host will say, sure, no problem. There's a need to recognize that it's still, even though you're taking and have the freedom to take, to recognize who it really does belong to, and that there's a graciousness of them partaking. That's what we do when we make a bracha beforehand, right? It's recognizing that you are the creator of these things, of the fruits of the trees, the produce of the land, the bari priagafen. You make the things of on amotzi lechem and aretz. You give forth bread. That we're not necessarily thanking God in that sense, but we're actually recognizing that He is the source of that. However, after we finish eating, after we're satisfied and we have our needs filled, the Torah then says this is the proper time to say thank you. When you don't have any pressing needs, when a person is hungry or thirsty, the reason why they're saying thank you is not because they really feel a sense of gratitude, it's because they feel it's a way to get their needs filled, and therefore it's a bargaining chip. I'll say thank you, you'll be nice and give it to me, and therefore we're working at a certain sense of deal. That's the way the tone and the tenor of saying thank you before you have something. Now, it is proper if somebody hands you something when you got it to say thank you, but the Torah says true thanks, you can really show appreciation, gratitude that we understand is v'achalta, v'sevata, u'brachta. You eat, you're satisfied, and then you breath. So this is the optimum situation. So one wants to ask is that we know when we say Berchas Hamazon, when we say grace, we say, right, we have actually 4 brachas, not 3. So if the Torah created 3 brachas, that they're saying this is the proper way to do it, what caused the rabbis to add on their 4th blessing? What caused us to feel the need to add on something to this formula? And what is this 4th blessing? It's the bracha of Hatova Meitiv, that everything is good. And when did the rabbis realize and come to this decision? Not when they had some glorious revelation of God's, graciousness to us, but actually at a very, very low point. The bracha of Hatova Meitiv was formulated after the defeat of the city of Beitar, which was the last remnant of the Bar Kokhba rebellion, which took place after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, the second Beis HaMikdash. Rose up this person Bar Chachma, who they thought at the time could be the Mashiach. Even many great Tanaim followed him for a while, until finally things fell apart and they were conquered, and the last remaining city was Beitar. And the Romans, in their cruelty, said that all the people who got killed in Beitar, they're not going to allow them to be buried. As an example to everybody, they're going to let the bodies rot where they fell. And for 13 years, the bodies lay unburied as a testimony. Finally, when they were given permission to bury the bodies, they noticed a miracle occurred, and none of the bodies decayed, even though Beitar is located in southern Eretz Yisroel, a very hot place, a very humid place where it's fraught for have decay. So at that point, the rabbis said, we need to formulate our thanks to Hashem and say, and with this bracha abatov hametiv, that He's good and He does good. He was good that they were given permission to be buried, and he did good to give him permission to be buried, and He does good because He didn't allow the bodies to decay. Which is an odd way to celebrate it. It seemed to be, in our history, we couldn't have found a better example of God's greatness. I mean, we had the Yam Suf, we had the building of the Beis Hamikdash, we had a lot of David just killing Goliath. There are a lot of examples you could have said. Why all of a sudden on this act did they decide that Tova Meitiv? So two basic questions are, what's the need to add the fourth bracha? And why was this the catalyst for this fourth bracha? So if we look at the format of the Birchas Hamazon, is the very first bracha is the bracha that ends off with Hazanas Hakol. It talks about Hashem, who is the sustainer, provider of food for the entire world. And therefore Hashem can now tell us, say thank you because I provide food for the whole world. Now that you're satisfied, say thank you. Our second bracha is Ala Aretz Ala Mazon, and we talk about the covenant between the Jewish people and Hashem and the giving of the land of Israel. And we should say thank you that I gave you a place called Eretz Yisroel. I gave you a land of Israel, and you have a relationship. Show your appreciation by saying thank you for Eretz Yisroel and all the things that come with Eretz Yisroel, like the Zayin Minim, the 7 special fruits, the idea that we can have holy foods like Truma and Maisa Ani and Bikurim, all these things that are done only from the food of Eretz Yisroel. And the third bracha that the Torah says is that not only that I gave you Eretz Yisroel, the Holy Land, I gave you a very special city called Yerushalayim, which has other things that are holy. We have the Beis Hamikdash, and then you have the holy foods, the korbanos, the sacrifices, the Maisa Sheni that you can eat only in Yerushalayim. That you have a special city that you can now elevate to another land, and I should say thank you for that. In all these cases, it's very obvious that the Torah is teaching us the proper ways to say thank you, to be gracious, to show gratitude, because that's how we build the relationship. However, what the Torah can command us to do is to recognize that everything that Hashem does for us is good. For that, you can't tell you that I'm giving you all these things, or I'm giving you this punishment, or I'm doing this, and everything I'm doing is for your benefit. It takes a person to understand that this is for their good, and not always it seems apparent. And this comes to maybe the crux of our answer. At the time when the Klal Yisrael were at their lowest point, we just lost the second Beis Hamikdash. The Romans were in charge. The city of Beitar, the last vestige of the rebellion, was done. Hashem shows that He's still running the show. He's still in charge of this, and that all this that was done for the sake of Klal Yisrael, in order to get us to our ultimate level. That He saw that He didn't forsake us, that the bodies of Beitar didn't rot, that they were given over to Gevurah, that Klal Yisrael started the rebellion of the decay that was happening throughout the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. Just like in the first Beis Hamikdash, the decay got to a point where Hashem needed to change things up, then started to move forward. And from that, we've lasted 2,000 years, even in this state of exile, by recognizing that this is all part of the process. So what I'm saying here is that this is a way to show your true support for Eretz Yisrael. by being gracious, by showing gratitude. We have a blessing that we can say every day to say, thank you, I appreciate the gift of Eretz Yisroel, that we now have control of Eretz Yisroel, and that we're rebuilding a Jewish life in Eretz Yisroel. Every day, at this time when things are going bad, we should be mechazik, our saying of Birchas Hamazon. Those who don't say it on a regular basis when they eat should then try to take on to themselves and say, yes, I'm going to start benching. And those who bench regularly, there are people who say it with kavana, say it out loud. Think of the words you're saying. Show Hashem. You want to show support for Israel? Start doing the positive. Let's not focus on the negative. You have to do our part. We have to make our ishtadlus. But what's going to show Hashem that we really appreciate Eretz Yisrael, that we really want Eretz Yisrael? Say thank you. Say thank you that you have Eretz Yisrael. Say thank you that you have Yerushalayim. That's two out of the three brachas. Not only for the food we eat that He sustains us, but He's also given us these two special places, Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim, and we should say thank you. If we're looking for a way to unite Klal Yisrael, which is the goal of this situation, is to bring us together, let's take on to be more careful about saying thank you, to be more appreciative of what Hashem has given us, because that's when we're going to really be in it, when we show the beauty that Hashem has given us. Even in the toughest times, even at the depths of our lowest point, we show that Hashem is still there and cares for us, and He's orchestrating all this for our benefit. We don't always know how. We don't always see the way. But this could be a focus to help us unite. Say thank you.